How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Adam Show. Tonight I'm going to be doing a bit of a tactic overview and my list that I've built for Chaos Space Marines in 8th edition. I built and painted this army purely for 8th edition, so everything in it, as far as I'm concerned, I've optimised to run smoothly in 8th edition. So it's probably clear to see that the army is Iron Warriors, which gives them ignore cover for their army-wide trait, which I find really handy. Some people say it's underwhelming and not worth it, but it just means your shots are sticking better when you're aiming at things in cover or things that get pluses to their cover or anything like that. Tyrannid shenanigans, Elder shenanigans, all that sort of stuff. You just ignore it and hit them with the full force of your weapons. The way I've built this army, everything in the army ignores cover except for the Forge Fiend. He's the only one that doesn't get the outtakes. So my bikes, Hellbrute, Obliterators, troops, the lot, all ignore cover except for that one unit. But the amount of shots he puts out doesn't really matter, but we'll get to that. So, leading the army, I have my Demon Prince that I have painted up. I've given him the Warpstorm Bolter, Malefic Talons, and that's it for him. Now, to save on points, I didn't give him the wings because A, I think that Iron Warriors look cooler without the wings, and B, he can take one psychic power, and the one I've chose to go with is Warp Time. So you can move your 8 inches and then move 8 inches again with this power. So you save the points on the wings, but you still get a large amount of movement. I utilise this guy's Warlord. So he takes, as his Warlord trait, Unholy Fortitudes. This gives him 1 extra wound, and it gives him a 6+ feel no pain, just making him a little beefier. And then to top it off, I give him the Flesh Metal Exoskeleton, which gives him a 2+ save, and also he regenerates a wound. So he comes in at 9 wounds, 6 up, feel no pain. He can move twice. The good thing about all this is none of this costs points. So I've gone through using Warlord traits, artifacts, and psychic abilities to give him all the things that makes him dangerous. So he only comes in at about 150 points. So that's a steal if you ask me. And I think he gets 8 attacks in combat and does, hits on 2s, reroll 1s, and does 2 damage apiece at -2. You can't really argue with that. Alright, second in charge, I have my custom built Warsmith. Built this guy using a Primaris Marine for the body to make him bigger than the rest of the guys and look a bit more solid. A Forge World head to give him that look like he's been around for a while. I made his bolter out of just sticking some bolters together. I gave him a mace because it's cheap. He only comes in at about 80 points built this way, but I can also, if need be, swap it out for the black mace if I want a bit of more combat punch. The crane on his back is made from orc bits and bobs, but I thought by making them rusty and stuff, it gives him the look of a Warpsmith, and it's unique and no one else has the model. And if I can get away with doing that, I'm all about it. Third in charge, we have here Sorcerer. So the Sorcerer has pretty much got one role. Obviously that's psychic powers, but I've given him the twin bolter, so he's, he can do some sort of shooting and just put in effort because he's never moving forward. If he does, he's got his staff, but you don't want him in combat. His whole by the way, the army all has Mark of Zeech as well, because his whole thing that he does is takes Weaver of Fates and Prescience. Now the whole reason that he does this is because he buffs the Forge Fiend. His whole job is to support the Forge Fiend with its mass stacker and shooting. So he casts the spells on the big fella. Here he is, the Forge Fiend. Love this model. Love how it's come up. It's brutal. 8 strength, 8 shots, AP 1, damage 2 apiece. You just can't complain with that. Just mass stacker. Now, Prescience pluses 1 to his ballistic skill, which means he's hitting on 3s. And the Weaver of Fates gives him 4 up invuln because it pluses 1 to his already 5 up invulnerable save. Now, by doing this, that just gives him more survivability and more shooting ability. Now, usually I'll start him in cover because people just love to target this thing, and what I'll do is I'll utilise the Blasphemous Machines on him so I can move him out. It means that, you know, it's 1 command point. He can move and he doesn't suffer the penalty. You cast things so you can move him and he's still hitting on 3s with the psychic power. He's still got the buff. And then for 1 point, 1 command point, Demon Forge, which gives him reroll hits and wounds. So he's hitting on 3s, rerolling. He's wounding on, it's strength 8, so 3s and 2s, rerolling those wounds. So he's just pumping out Daka. It's a beautiful thing. Couldn't ask for more out of that. He's kind of that sit in the middle and just pump supportive shots out to the rest of the guys. So that's the roles of the 3 HQs in the army. I run 5 troops choices. So we have 1, 2, 3 Chaos Space Marines, 5-man units. They're all disarmed with bolt guns and 1 las cannon in each of them squads. So their job is to just sit back and punch holes in nasty things. If you ask me, the las cannon's one of the best weapons in 8th edition. Yes, it's 25 points, but the range, sitting back, good AP, strength 9, which means you're wounding pretty much every vehicle in the game on a 3 up, and then D6 damage. You know, you have these as sit back, punch holes. The other 2 troops units spend most of their time running. So I've armed 2 5-man units with axes, and well, the sergeant's got a, I shouldn't say sergeant, I should say champion, has a power axe, a bolt pistol. The other guys are just simply armed with just bolt pistol chainswords. Just nice, simple. The whole idea is they just keep running forward. They're really about taking forward objectives. That's all they do. If they get shot to pieces, they get shot to pieces. It's a 65-point unit. You know, you got the power axe in there for a little added oomph, and then these guys, you know, they get a couple of attacks each, plus their bolt pistol. Not bad for cheap points, and it just means that if you've got them armed this way, you will run them towards objectives because you're not thinking in your mind, oh, I need to walk because I don't want to waste my shooting on my guns, and etc., etc. So they're the 5 troops choices. Fast attack slots, we've got 2 identical units of bikes. Really simple. Got Sergeant. Oh, I did it again. Chaos Champion, Combi Plasma, and just his bike. And then 2 other guys in the squad, Plasma. So these guys pretty much are just a supporting role. Usually the Demon Prince moves up. These will sit in front of him, depending. And these are just chaff clearance. With their twin bolters and plasma, they put out a horrendous amount of shots close up, horrendous amount of plasma and bolt rounds, which is a beautiful thing. You just drive up and roll the dice. That's pretty much, they remove things, and they've got the ignore cover. So, you know, anything like, well, anything, you're ignoring cover. So they're copping the full weight of your plasma, and then the weight of numbers rolled by your twin bolt guns. All right, next, one of my favourite units. It's the one out of the box. Everyone owns him. So I pulled him apart, put him back together. Turns out the twin las cannons just fit on here beautifully if you just cut that nice and smooth. Looks the piece. He's looking straight down it. Looks nice. Given him that and the rockets. Reason of giving him that and the rockets is because this guy has a stratagem that allows him to shoot twice at the closest unit. So, you know, anything like that flies up in your face, tank gets too close, you know, other people's demon princes or monstrous creatures that they're trying to shove down your throat. For one command point, you're getting 4 las cannon shots and 2 rocket shots. Whatever that's shooting at dies. Now, as I said before, this guy here is to buff the demon forge. If I'm going to use this guy to do that same tactic that I've just stated, I'll put the +1 ballistic skill on him. Now, taking into account that he's near this guy that gives him the reroll 1s, you've got reroll 1s, you've got 4 shots, you're hitting every shot. And then you've got high strength, ignoring cover, and they're all D6 wounds. There's a possibility of putting out 30-something wounds on something. It's quite nasty. And his whole job is just to sit back with these guys and just add that extra firepower. Now the last unit, and probably my favourite unit in the army, is my obliterators. I hate the original obliterator models. They're old, they're outdated, I'm not a fan. So what I did was I took Centurions from the Space Marines decks and I massacred them into these big machines of death, using green stuff to make the flesh, all that kind of business. They come with all the weapons in there to make them look cool. Like the kit's pretty much, you know, you need a few little things, but the kit pretty much comes with all the weapons. You know, flamers, heavy bolters, melter, stick it all in there, some spikes, some nice skin effects. You've got yourself some really nice looking obliterators, and they looked the part, and it makes a lot more sense for me that to become an obliterator they were Centurions and they've become corrupted with their flesh metal. Give them some chain fists and stuff to look cool. Bit of an assault cannon, pipes going into them, just make them look gnarly and gross. This guy's got a bloody las cannon coming out of his chest. What more could you ask for? So I just run a unit of 3 of them. I know people like to run multiple units, but that unit's pure for plugging holes. So, you know, while the rest of this army's doing its thing, if I see something that needs to be nuked, they come down and they nuke it. They get 4 shots apiece, hitting on 3s because their weapons are assault weapons, and they're variable strength, but at the absolute minimum, you're getting strength 7, 1 damage, and -1 AP. So even if you roll terribly, that's 12 shots, basically auto cannons. And then if you roll really well, you're just doing mass damage. All right, so I'm going to be using this army this week, and I will film the battle report, get back to you guys. These guys are on a massive, I think I've lost 2 games with these guys in 8th edition out of about 20 games they've had. Solid list. And I'll get back to you with the battle report. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. Hope you enjoy your evening, and if you've got any feedback about this army, I'd love to hear it. Enjoy your evening.